Welcome to November. I got sick after this game, and the Carolina one. So 2 games that I need to catch up on. That one and then Nevada Days, our Halloween's game. And then we're into November, and so Detroit's game is tomorrow. But let's, cover the last 2 games. Here's what we missed with Vegas Golden Knights in the last 2 games. Honestly, a huge sports weekend, so wouldn't be shocked for these games to not have mattered as much to a lot of people, because the World Series, which was one of the best World Series in a while, and it's not just like I really didn't have a dog in the fight either way, but the storylines out of it was incredible. The NASCAR playoff championship weekend, and me being sick it was great, and it wasn't because of too much soda and candy. No, it was the end of October, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So I'm repping that, and we're in Movember now, which I'm not growing a mustache for this year. But cancer sucks, So let's I just figured this was appropriate. Anyway, the 2 games, Vegas against Carolina, rematch from a week ago. We're already done. We don't see them again until the next time we could play them would be the Stanley Cup final, if either team, both teams, get there. So that's, crazy how we finished the season series before the first month of the NHL was over. Other first month of the NHL news, Jack Eichel was first star of the month, and in large part that's helpful. What helped him to get there was his game against Carolina on his birthday. He scored 2 goals in the last 5 minutes of that game. Again, getting ahead of myself, so let's back up. The game 10 of the season against Carolina, Vegas Golden Knights, hold on. The Vegas Golden Knights win 6-3 against the Carolina Hurricanes, and it was, that can't go on Carolina's side, but they won't stay up. That was creepy. This score is a little misleading. We had Akira Schmid back in net. Our goaltending situation, yeah. So Aiden Hill's out. I don't know how long. Schmid and Lindbaum are gonna, rotate apparently. Also, I keep getting ahead of myself. Let me stay. So the first period, that game, honestly, even though it was 6-3 and Vegas had to score a lot of those late in the third period, was a really good offensive performance from Vegas. Not just because 6 goals, obviously that's a big number of goals in the NHL, but in general, they had a lot more chances that they didn't capitalize on, they didn't convert on, including shots off the post several times, but this insane stop from Freddie Anderson on Mitch Marner, I believe, on a power play. The Vegas Golden Knights really played well in Game 10. And I don't know if it's just because it's Carolina or whatever. We beat them a week or 2 before this. And what's going on? I know they're injured, Gostisbehere and their decor being weird. But they scored first on the power play, Svechnikov, because Vegas doesn't start on time and they don't score first in any of their games. It's unfathomable how bad we are at starting on time. And any game that starts before 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, because that is something I noticed last year, and it kind of faded towards the end of the season and into the playoffs. But the Vegas Golden Knights are terrible at starting on time, which is extremely unfortunate. Because if they were able to put in a 60-minute effort on most nights, I would say that they're the best team in the league. I'm biased, but after Svechnikov scores, Pavel Dorofeev responds. Of course, Pavel Dorofeev, the future Rocket Richard winner for the 2025-26 season, because he scored his 8th and 9th goals days after his birthday, and it was fantastic. Like, hey, yes, Dorofeev, let's go. He's been fantastic to start the season. He has 9 goals. That's crazy. In the first 10 games of the season, that's the most a Vegas Golden Knight player has had in the first 10 games of the season in their franchise's history. So we're only in year 9, but it still is really cool, especially because James Neal was on that heater season 1. And anyway, and despite the fact the ending, the second period, were tied 2-2. The Vegas Golden Knights had a really good second period and nothing to show for it because of a mixture of Freddie Anderson and just not being able to capitalize on our chances. Instead, we allow the first of the season to Jordan Martinook on this pass that Eichel bobbled the puck and he skates with it the other way and buries it. And it feels like every time we have a breakaway the other way, it ends up in the back of our net. I know breakaways are hard to stop in the modern NHL, but statistically speaking, some of them have to be, right? I know Schmid is a questionable backup. I think he's a good, but there's not as much of a sample size in the system. But man, that's the goaltender's job, is to be the last line of defense, and it just doesn't feel like we really have that right now. And it was questionable for a large portion of our fan base whether or not Hill was able to provide that as well. I don't know if Hart's going to be able to provide it. I don't know. Goaltending is ridiculous. Meanwhile, Logan Thompson on the Capitals looks frickin' stellar with a 935 something. It's insane to me. And then Carolina in the third period takes the lead with a goal from Logan Stankoven, who I love that guy, that kid. I wanted Vegas to draft him instead of Dean, who we ended up shipping off to St. Louis for Barbashev anyway, which would have made me feel A couple of minutes later, though, Brett Howden, I don't know if I mentioned this, he's back in the lineup. He was injured for a bit. And they talked about Hanifin as well. He's still out, but he looks like he's ready to return. Brett Howden scores, and he ties the game. And there's still half of the third period left to play. He just kind of barreled into the net, too. It was it was a really good goal from him. It was at that point that none other than Jackpot Jack Eichel took over the game, and he scored twice. It was this one play that they got broken up, very similar to the goal that Martinook scored in the second, where it was a breakup at the blue line in our defensive zone that Barbashev just gets up to Eichel on this flick play, and he's in all alone, and it ends up in the back of the net. So at least it's not us, just us. He scored on a breakaway. So we take the lead 4-3, and then a couple of minutes later, it seemed a lot closer than that. Jack Eichel scores again, his second goal of the night. I don't know what Carolina was doing defensively here. Ivan Barbashev skates into the zone, just kind of goes behind the net and sends it right in front to a wide open Jack Eichel in the slot, and he buries it. And it's 5-3, and at that point, I think Carolina was upset a little bit with some non-calls, but non-calls are happening on both sides either way, and so I don't know if you can really say anything on that. But Vegas capitalizing on their chances in the third period, and then to end the game, Tomas Hertl gets an empty netter. It was a really good game that probably should have been worse on the scoreboard against Carolina, who, is my favorite East Coast team. And so it was really solid showing from Vegas that made me believe in our offense again after the Florida road trip, after not being able to really do anything offensively against Florida, which leads me to Game 11 against the Colorado Avalanche, and these are the correct sides. This is where I always put the home team, and this is where I put the away team. Vegas wore this color, and Colorado wore this color. But it was an insane jersey matchup because it's the Nevada Day game, which Vegas has always, I believe, worn their away whites too. And so I think it's a cool tradition that Vegas does. But I feel like we tend to lose these games. And that's what happens here. Vegas loses, unfortunately, 4-2 against the Colorado Avalanche. And I did not watch most of this game. I was dyeing my hair red for my Halloween costume. I had the first period on before we went trick-or-treating because we live on the East Coast, right? So needed to go early. And my young kid, it was awesome. I loved it. Wouldn't have traded anything, especially because of something magnificent could have happened in that game, and I wouldn't have cared if I'd watched it live or not. It's a game in October. It's instead, we were out getting Sour Patch Kids and a bunch of different other candies, and my kids were having a blast, and it's good. I purposefully didn't work the hockey game that I should probably, I could have for my local team, and it was great. that I like family first, you know. But the first period, my son's watching, and he sat there and watched the first period. I loved it. We don't have them typically watch a lot of the games because they start at 10 p.m. here, but he kept yelling at me what was happening and how Vegas didn't score and Colorado score. It was just, you know. And speaking of not starting on time, Colorado scores first. It's Martin Nietzsche's, who I have in fantasy. So like, boo, but also like, if anyone were to have it being him, you know, from Cale Makar, and a play that Cale Makar makes where he sees so much of the ice so clearly and passes it over to him, and he just buries it. My gripe with this goal is that Bruce Cassidy, in the post-game presser, specifically said, we know that Colorado has done this play. We watched it in film before this game, and we still let it happen because we did not start on time. That's infuriating. Are you kidding me? It's game 11, sure, whatever. Colorado is probably the best litmus test that we've had so far of like playoff team, and the score being 4-2 is misleading in the opposite way that Carolina's is, because we didn't even score one of them. Yes, we scored it, but it was an own goal from off of Brent Burns' stick that went over Wedgwood's shoulder from Marner from the corner. He just flings it on. It's going literally parallel to the goal line, and Brent Burns tips it in past his own goaltender to make it 4-2. I think it was 3-2 at that point. This game, I really, it was frustrating. Well, I watched it back the next day because I didn't care about it the day of. But Martin Nietzsche scored, and then Brock Nelson in the second period. Hurdle scores on the power play, and that made it 2-1. And then Brent Burns scored for Colorado that time to make it 3-1. And then Marner scores his third of the season off of Brent Burns. Brent Burns scored, giving Marner a goal to make it 3-2. But then with the empty net, Cale Makar from 120 to 50 feet out, flings it on, it hits Theodore's stick and bobbles into the net, empty netter, and they won 4-2. Lindbaum started this game. They went back to him, which for a rookie goaltender to split 50-50 with Schmid, it says a lot about his performance against Tampa Bay, but also probably Cassidy's lack of confidence in our goaltending right now. But either way, it doesn't help your goalie if you're not able to put up a better production from that game. And Vegas not starting on time, starting off on the wrong foot, getting down early, it just isn't great, especially because once playoff comes, the games, especially if you get later into the series, deeper into the playoffs, will start earlier, and I don't trust Vegas to start on time at all, which is something they're going to need to figure out soon, because you can't come from behind in every single game, especially because there are going to be games where you score first that the other team does come from behind, and you gotta counteract that somehow. Vegas is struggling a little bit to find offense outside of the Carolina game, I would say, and because 3 out of the last 4 games, that's kind of a trend. I am a little whelmed by Mitch Marner so far. I keep waiting for that game breaker that we heard about so much from Toronto media during the regular season, that I haven't seen him elevate that step of his game yet. And there are times where I keep looking for it, and it just hasn't. It's shown in flashes for sure, but I keep waiting for it to be there. And something that I know Toronto fans complain about are some of the flashy things that he tries to do that end up biting them, because it just leads to a turnover that goes the other way, with like these no look behind the back passes into the open slot that end up anyway. I don't know. I really know he can hit another gear, and I'm just waiting for it though, right? So hopefully that comes soon. We get to see that Marner magic. And Eichel has been really, really well. Dorofeev has scored his goals. Since Stone has been out, our power play has dried up. It just feels like not having Stone in that bumper slot behind the net. Hurdle's in the bumper slot. Not having Stone behind the net in Gretzky's office has been a huge detriment to that number 2 ranked power play from last season. And I don't know what it is. We tried to put Marner there and it didn't work because he's a different player than Mark Stone is. I don't know. It's just, it really is what opened up the rest of our scorers, because you had the option of him trying to wheel around and tuck it into the goal or around the goalie on the other side of the goal. You had his passes to Hurdle in the bumper slot that he gets covered way more with Stone out of the lineup. And also Dorofeev isn't as wide open automatic as he's been on the power play. Maybe it's because we're facing better penalty kills, but Carolina's penalty kill wasn't great. Hurdle scored a power play goal against Colorado. I've noticed a trend where Vegas' power play is less deadly, less efficient, less productive since Stone has been out. And so I want Stone to be healthy. We are a better team with him in the lineup than with him on LTIR, despite what the millions of NHL fans think they believe because they don't actually ever watch a Vegas game. But hopefully Hill are able to return and be healthy and strong and able to put up their best performances. But games 10 and 11, less than inspiring, but hey, welcome to November. You know, we haven't hit January yet, where Vegas historically sucks. December, they usually are good. And so November, we'll see what happens. But Vegas is still leading the Pacific right now, I believe. It feels weird to have the breaks that we've had in the last couple of weeks. Because of how condensed this season's supposed to be. And so we're going to get back into it this next week with a game on Tuesday against the Red Wings, and then Thursday, and then Saturday, homestand, and then we also have... So we're getting back into the swing of things here in November. We are not leading the Pacific. The Anaheim Ducks are... Hey, I called it. I said they were going to be a playoff team this year. They are, I said they were going to be a wild card team, but they're going to be, that's crazy to me. They are leading the division. It's early. It's 11 games in. They have the same number of points as us. And now, you know how I was saying last video how Vegas was the only team with a positive goal differential? Their goal differential is the exact same as ours, +7. We are still the only 2 teams in the, anyway, yeah, so, you know, let's get to it and beat Detroit and have a good homestand. But that's going to be it for games 10 and 11's nightly reviews.
But I'm not done yet.
Adding this one into here because why not? The Vegas Golden Knights win against the Detroit Red Wings 1-0. And it was not a barn burner, obviously. The Vegas Golden Knights scoring only 1 goal, and it came in the second period. But honestly, it was a really solid game from the Golden Knights and the Red Wings too, kind of, who are off to their best start in like 15 years. So congrats, Red Wings. This section of this video, I'm just gonna add this in, is gonna be pretty quick. There's not a ton to talk about, but the goal was from Ivan Barbashev because Bruce Cassidy did a bunch of line mixing in the second period. He's still trying to find what's gonna work best for this team. Saad's out there with, I think it was Smith and Barbashev. And Saad, this was Brendan Saad's best game of the season. He so far just kind of didn't... He looked good at the end of last season in the Vegas Golden Knights sweater, but to start the season, he just hasn't had that same productivity from last year, and you could tell he's kind of snake bitten. It's not his goal, but he's on that line and helps produce this opportunity because Vegas wins the face-off. Lauzon on the point, blasts it, it gets blocked in front, and he wheels out into the middle of the slot, grabs the puck, turns, and fires it on. And John Gibson, the Detroit Red Wing goalie, that's weird to me still, who is the losingest goalie against Vegas in Vegas' franchise history because of all of his time with the Ducks, who have historically been bad since Vegas has been in the league. So like it kind of makes sense, but he's lost the most games, and Cam Talbot is also one of the losingest goalies. Detroit's tandem against Vegas has historically not done well. John Gibson had a solid game. He only allowed 2 goals and 1 of them counted. So, you know, whatever, but Vegas... his rebound control all night was not great. And so pucks were getting into that slot area a lot throughout the evening, and Barbashev pounces on this one. Come on, Bobby, let's go party. where Gibson makes the initial save on Sods in the slot, really like it's from a short distance. He's got nobody in front of him. He makes that initial save, and it's not really his fault at that distance. But up until that point and after, his rebounds were really juicy, just begging Vegas to capitalize on it, and they only had this one where Barbashev grabs that rebound and just chips it in past Gibson to make it 1-0, which would be the game-winning goal. And hey, Vegas scored first in the game. Good thing they did. But as I was saying, Sod, Smith's best game, Akira Schmid. Dude, shutout. His second shutout of his career. His first as a Vegas Golden Knight. It's weird to me that he's only had 2 shutouts in his career, I guess. But I guess his career hasn't been that long in the NHL. Anyway, Akira Schmid didn't have to face very many like grade A opportunities, but there was that one sequence, I believe, in the... I don't remember which period it was in, where Drinket had this shot, it bounced out, and then he tipped it back in, and he like swiped at it, and it was very athletic, especially wearing all those pads and on skates on ice. It was a really good just move, and he seemed to be tracking the puck very well tonight. He was better about his rebounds than the guy on the opposite end of the ice, which is always a good thing to have happen for, you know, the team you're cheering for, right? Vegas and Detroit had other chances. There was the disallowed goal, which is extremely similar to the Kucherov one against Tampa Bay a week and a half ago. And it's kind of weird that it happened twice in a week and a half with Vegas involved in both of them. But in the Tampa Bay one, Kucherov lost the puck, possession of the puck, as he's crossing the blue line to go into the offensive zone, which counts as a loss of possession. Because fun fact, the puck doesn't need to go into the zone first, but whoever has possession of the puck needs to go into the zone first. So for example, if you're back skating, like skating backwards into the offensive zone, which why on earth would you do that? But you've got the puck just sitting in front of you, and it's underneath your stick, and you're pulling it back the entire time. It doesn't break a stick, you're stick handling it, sure, whatever. As long as you keep possession of it, that's allowed. The puck doesn't have to cross before both of your feet are crossed for it to be onside, technically speaking, according to the rule book in the NHL. However, with Kucherov and with Howden here, as they were entering the zone, there's a slight bobble, and Kucherov's was worse. I definitely thought he lost possession of the puck. Howden's was debatable, but it looked like it could have been enough to cause questions, and I think that's why Detroit challenged it. It was successful, and so it was called back. It was a goal from Lauzon, so Howden spins around as he's got the puck. He leaves it for Lauzon, who wires it, and it went in, and then it didn't count, which is so sad because Lauzon had a decent game in the fact that he wasn't detrimental to his team, which... Not a slight against him. I know he hasn't played in like a year and a half until these like 12 games, but the new guys have not been very helpful. Sissons had a penalty that could have been costly. It was in the third period. It gave Detroit their second power play of the evening, and it seems like one of them is taking a penalty pretty much every game. Lauzon was having a solid night, and then he scored, and then it didn't count. But in general, just a really solid performance from Vegas. Noah Hanifin was back. Noah Hanifin back in the lineup, and he immediately led the team in time on ice. At least he was a good portion to the third period amongst defensemen, which should have been the entire team then. But for a short video, I had a lot to say. That was a really solid game from Vegas. 1-0 victories can be boring, but I thought that there was enough going on tonight that it kept it interesting. Our next game is Thursday against Tampa Bay. We're finishing our season series against Tampa Bay. I really didn't talk about Detroit much in this, but like if you're a Detroit fan, hey, hi, Tyler, thank you. I appreciate you being here, and hit subscribe if you're here. Their season has been really, really good so far, and it kind of is a little bit surprising. I just didn't see Finney coming out of nowhere, right? But hey, awesome. It's a good thing when Detroit is good in the league, right? Which is why it was a good thing for 25 years. But no, it's good to see them start off on the right foot. Let's hope let's see how long they're able to take it. But Vegas' next game, Thursday, against Tampa. I'm trying to make sure that it actually is. Yeah, it is ending our season series. You know, we're done seeing Tampa and Carolina until potentially Stanley Cup final against them. That's the scheduling for, it's weird. I understand like stadium schedules and all that jazz, and but that doesn't mean I have to like it, right? But that's gonna be it for game, oh geez, 10, 11, and 12's nightly review. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good night.